You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We are coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Radio Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kademan, business coach at Draw In Customers Business Coaching and author of the Bold Business Book. Today, we are welcoming / preparing to learn from Chris Hake of Madison House Buyers. Chris, how's it going today?
It's going good, James.
We got a fun kind of weather-changing Wisconsin day.
Yeah, I go from 5 days of sun, and now we're inside waiting for the snow to hit.
Yeah, right. Why do we live here?
I know.
So, Chris, you are in the real estate business, essentially very broadly. Is that right?
Yep, just over 22 years now.
Holy cow. Okay, so you've seen a couple ups and downs.
I am on my third big swing coming in. So,
holy cow. Do they maintain every 7 or so years, or is it?
You know, that's 7, 8 years is historically, you could look back decades and decades, and it's been pretty close. We've been on a good swing for a while. It's been a little longer than 7, so that means the other side's coming. The other side's coming. I don't know when. If I did, I would be a billionaire.
Sure.
My crystal ball. But yeah, it's trending. It's going that direction.
Fair. Awesome. Well, why don't you tell me, how did you get started in this?
Oh man, you know, when I got out of school, I was never much for school, and
Sure.
I did my school thing because, you know, everyone goes to the guidance counselor in high school and
Right.
they tell you, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up?
Right.
And
You're
I'm 17. I got no clue.
Right.
It's either go to work, military, or college. Those are my 3 options. And
Sure.
I didn't really want to go to the military. Working didn't sound too fun at that point. So I went to school, and you know, I went to lacrosse for a couple years back in the 80s, and you know, that was great. And I graduated. You know, I had a little gap in there in between, just trying to figure out life, like a lot of kids do.
Sure.
And what happened was I got into the working world, and over the next 5 years after I got out of college, I jumped around job to job because I kind of kept hitting a ceiling.
Sure.
You know, I was working real hard, doing the overtime thing. I was all about money at that age, just trying to make it to pay debts. And I got to the point where I realized that working was not getting me the money that I felt I wanted, or maybe I felt I deserved.
Sure.
At that age.
Totally fair.
And so I was hustling at working hard, and I started getting into multiple businesses, and I got into multi-level marketing, and I was trying to find anything that I could,
Sure.
You know, get ahead. And that's where real estate kind of came in. I would say, I don't know, back in probably the late 80s,
Okay.
late 80s, early 90s, you know, one of those midnight infomercials, you know, no money down type deal.
Sure.
And I bought a course for, I think, $99 on
All
TV. Right. And within the next 30 days, I read it all, and I followed it, and I bought a house. Oh,
nice.
Yep. And so
A host of flip or
well, actually, at the time, that's what I thought I was going to do.
Okay.
And I ended up, my wife was pregnant. We were having our first child, and I lived in a little condo in Middleton, and ended up buying a condo in a 6-unit building about 3 blocks away.
Oh, wow.
And I partnered up with my dad and my brother-in-law, and my dad kind of was the funding of it.
Okay.
And my brother-in-law and I, we went in and we worked, you know, nights and weekends while we weren't working a job.
Sure.
And did pretty much everything except laying the carpet at the very end. We did everything else. And we ended up getting that all done and renting it. And
Okay.
so it turned into a rental property.
All right.
And, you know, we did exactly what the book said. You know, get money. It was no money down, but it was also get money at closing was one of the things that they taught. And sure enough, you know, we got it reevaluated and went to the bank and actually took money out at closing. And it was like, wow, this stuff works. Real estate, cool. And I'm in my late 20s. I'm probably 27 at that time.
Sure.
And so that kind of kickstarted it. And over the next 3 years, probably,
Yeah.
I think I got up to about 40 rental properties in and around Dane County. I had a full-time business that I was working. I had 7 offices around the state. I think I was on our second baby now in a brand new marriage, and I
Holy
was
cow.
just kind of burning the candle every which way.
Brand new marriage, like wife number 2?
No, brand new marriage number 1, one
Okay.
and only.
So that's so interesting because I've been doing this a few times, right? I don't know, a dozen, something like that. And it seems like half the people that have started a business that I've interviewed have said something similar where they're like, I'm in the process of starting a business and my wife is pregnant, or and we're having a baby, I'm pregnant, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like all these changes, like, let's just go for the whole pizza, right?
It's funny at that age though. I looked at myself then, and even though I had people telling me, time is valuable.
Yeah.
To me, time had no value.
Sure. Oh,
it was
interesting.
I can work 20 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Sure.
Which for years I worked more than I ever cared to admit.
Right.
But I kept telling myself, you know what? I want to do it when the kids are really young, so when they get a little older. I mean, I justified all these things,
Sure.
which are crazy to me now to even think that I thought that way. But that's, at 27, 26,
Right.
27, I was willing to work hard. I was, willing to do more than the next guy to get ahead, and I did. And I just figured I could be the master, jack of all trades.
Sure.
And unfortunately, I was a master of none.
Sure.
But I had my hands in a lot of pots, and real estate was just one of them.
All right.
So
Interesting.
yeah.
What other, were there smattering of other jobs?
Yeah, well, I've been in and out of multi-level marketing or direct sales type companies for over 20 years. I've been a realtor for 22 years now.
Okay.
Been an investor for 22 years. I've started and closed down. I can't even tell you how many companies or LLCs.
All right.
Over the years, different
In real estate or other?
real estate. We've had some other businesses, outside businesses. I had a sign company, back in with a buddy from high school,
Okay.
who still actually has that company today, which is great.
Huh.
But we did that for years, just trying to do something,
Sure.
But a lot of it revolved around real estate and, at the time, multi-level marketing. And I had a headhunting recruiting company, so
Sure.
that was something that was part of my job, job. I kind of moved from computer-aided drafting to geographical information systems, and
Oh, wow.
I was working on all that stuff when I got out of college, and that led me into all the software and hardware that I used in that field.
Okay.
And then the next step was working with all the people who use the software in the industry of CAD and GIS,
Sure.
which
Sure.
was civil engineering, mechanical engineering, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And ultimately, at the end, was being a headhunter because I understood the process, I understood the systems, I understood the software and hardware, and I understood the people. So the next step was I'll be a headhunter and recruit to all these companies I've worked for
Oh, wow.
6, 7, 8 years.
All right.
And I did that again while I'm buying real estate, while I'm having babies with my wife, growing a family, and so it's just one of the many prongs,
Sure.
if you will. So yeah, I kept myself busy in my or late 20s and early 30s for sure.
All right. So then what happened? Did you pile it all together, or you had to close down some stuff, or just regroup?
It was kind of a regrouping. I mean, I was getting to the point where I could see that I was getting burned out from it, and I was trying to get smarter. Back in the probably it's been 95, 96. That's when I got my first coach.
Okay.
And people talk about coaches and mentors, and we think of athletes, Tiger
Sure.
Woods, Michael Jordans of the world. And that was something that I had my first one back in 96. And, since then, over the last 20 years, I think I've had probably 12 or 13 different coaches
right.
or mentors, mostly business, real estate business, definitely life related, fitness.
Sure.
But boy, I tell you, that's something that, when I talk to people and whether I'm coaching or doing real estate or speaking, that's something I stress so hard is, man, if you do not have that kind of person in your life, go find them.
Yeah.
Because we all need help more than, we have so much more ability to do things, but left on our own,
Right.
it's very difficult because, you're in the box and all you can see is the four walls. And that coach and mentor is a person who stands above the box and they can see everything around it. And my life has changed so drastically because of those, people in my life. And so back in 96, that started helping me to what I thought to start maybe not working as hard and
Sure.
as much and maybe smarter.
Okay.
But I kept falling back into the same habits
Ah.
because that was the real first swing in the market. That was the tech bubble. So 2000, I started in real estate in 97 and bought most of my rentals up until right around 2000, 2001.
Okay.
That's right when the tech bubble hit, and all my friends on the left, I was never a stock guy, never have been. I've
Sure.
always been in the real estate because I could touch it, feel it. I could do things with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I never liked stocks at that point because it was like somebody was hopefully doing their
Just
job
buying a dream.
and it was
Yep.
just going to make it.
Sure.
And I just didn't like that.
Right.
I didn't have any control. So, I got a lot of friends that are like, oh my gosh, the techs are going through the roof. They're doubling, tripling in a week.
Mm-hmm.
And this is 99 when everything was,
Sure.
glory. And then we know what happened in 2000.
Yeah, bad day.
Bad day, yeah. And then what happened on the other side of that was real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Then, just went crazy. And I was right in the middle of all that, which was great because I bought at a good time, 96 to 2001. And because of some partnership stuff and changes in my life, I ended up selling all those rental properties, which was a lesson today that I teach to anyone that will listen. Any property I ever buy in the future, I will never sell again.
Oh.
I wish I still had those 40 properties because that would have been almost 15 years now. And
So they'd be paid for and just bringing you in.
yep. I teach a lot of real estate investing and have been for years at the collegiate level. I taught at MATC for 4 years.
Sure.
And I really, really enjoy doing that. And some of the best lessons I've ever learned was my own falling on my, face and getting a bloody nose.
Sure.
Sometimes, actually, most of the time, that's the best way to teach. So I went through all that, and again, the tech bubble, and then the real estate bubble, 07, 08, and those are a couple big times in my life with business and making decisions. I like to say I made some good decisions, but I made a lot of bad decisions.
Sure.
And I think I probably would have made more if I didn't have some help around me, support, mentors, coaches,
Right.
those people. So again, I'll jump on that one and say, boy, anyone listen to this, if it's something you're trying to do better in any area of your life and you don't know how to do it, find someone who's where you want to be,
Mm-hmm.
where they are today, and can get you there. And just make sure of the source.
Sure. That's awesome.
Yep.
That's very awesome. So just going back to your friends with their stocks and
Yep.
stuff like that, were most of them into real estate as well, or they were pretty exclusive to
Actually,
stocks?
I would say a couple of them were in real estate, but for the most part, they were. I think day trading was really big back
Oh,
then.
sure. Okay.
I seem to think that was, a lot of the amateur folks. Hey, anyone can do it, and things are tripling,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't even have to really think about it. And so there was a lot of that going on. I think a bunch of guys that I knew were doing that, and constantly, man, I made this much last week and this much last
Sure.
month, and I was just kind of on the real estate game, and I knew what I had, I knew what I was doing. And then it's like the tech bubble bursts, and it's a different story.
So did they lose?
Oh yeah, they got
Okay.
creamed.
So they were telling you, come on over to our side
Oh
of the fence.
yeah,
It's great.
the
and
grass
then-
is greener over the fence.
Sure.
Yeah, and you know what? And I'm sure if I would have jumped on board, I probably would have made some money. I probably would have lost money.
Sure.
And again, that was never been something that I've been as comfortable with as stock market.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate had always been something that I've studied and I've learned, and it's just something that it's in my local market.
Mhm.
I can watch the trends. I can see when things affect it. I can make decisions to buy and sell or to rent or
Sure.
do whatever and kind of manage my own
Mhm.
financial future as opposed to hope it gets done the other way. Now, I've learned since then over the years that, I'm in a different mindset now.
Mhm.
But that's 15, 20 years later, and I have a different look on that. That's part of my overall
Sure. It's
you know,
experience.
picture.
Right?
Yep. Oh, boy. Experience is worth a lot, isn't it?
So I wonder, most of what you're doing with real estate now, is it purchasing properties, fixing them up to rent them out then?
Well, actually, again, everything's market dependent. So over the last years, when 07 and 08 hit, the market just tanked.
Sure.
And it took a few years to be down in the lowlands there where it was just nobody really knew what to do. It was just complete chaos. And there's foreclosures and short sales and all that crazy stuff happening with
Sure.
so many people. And that lasted for a couple, 2-3 years there. And things started coming out the other side, I would say 10, 11-ish. It depends, on how you you'd see the market, but where I was standing, I was starting to buy and flip properties at that time. So
Okay.
there was available everywhere.
Stuff was essentially on sale.
They were on sale everywhere, and I knew how to price them. I knew what to do. I had crews and guys that could build them and fix them up. And I did a bunch of them in 2010, 11, 12. And then I actually kind of slowed down a little bit because I started getting into another business aspect, which is more of the teaching and education side. And that's the Madison Real Estate Investor Association.
Sure.
So that's one of my companies. And so that was something that in 2012, I left teaching at MATC in 2010. And I was kind of, lost because I had this platform to teach from for about 4 years. 07 to 2010 or something. I taught maybe a couple hundred students. And it was great, but it didn't, teaching in the academia world just didn't mesh with how I wanted to be able to help people. And they wanted my help. So I had about a gap of 18 months there in 2001 and into 2011 and 2012. And so I started talking to all the people that I've known for years, realtors, because I'd been a realtor forever. People knew I was flipping properties and I was doing that around town. And so I started talking to them saying, hey, there's really no place where people congregate to get together to learn about this stuff or to talk about, what's going on in the market or marketing or strategies or any of it. No group like that really in our area. And so I started meeting with a few people for lunch about every 2-3 weeks in the summer of 2012. And it went from 6 people to 12 people to 25 people. And all of a sudden it's like, you know what, we should maybe do something more formal. And so I started kind of a real estate investor association, and we've just been growing and growing and growing. It's been 5.5 years now.
Oh, wow.
And we got 300 members. And we've got, now 8,000 square feet in our space, and we have our own training facility and offices where we all congregate. And it's just kind of an environment for real estate in general. And so, so my avenues kind of kept going that direction. I kind of kept pushing down that avenue because, I enjoy what I do. I keep flipping and fixing and flipping. And actually, as of about 3 months ago, I've been kind of waiting and waiting. I mentioned earlier in this program that we're kind of at that. We're at the top. And the top can be kind of a big top because
you're talking about values.
The market, I mean, it can only go so far and so high, and so the market is there. And so I've been watching and teaching on this for a couple years, kind of, getting people ready. Hey, I want to be ready for this next one. I really missed the first two in 2000 and 2008. I missed those opportunities because I wasn't ready. And I was ready in 2012, and so we've been riding the wave up, and our business has been going great. We've been buying tons of property. Can
you elaborate on that? When you say ready, do you mean like have capital ready to make you move when stuff goes on sale, essentially?
So be ready a couple ways. Financially, so out of debt. So I don't have any constrictions there. And having available money, and it doesn't necessarily have to be mine. I talk about OPM, other people's money, all the time. And whether it's bank lending, private lending, whatever it is, there's other sources of money. There's people that have money earning 1% that don't know any other way to do it because they're afraid of the market, and they don't understand real estate, and they've got it sitting in a CD in a bank getting 1 or 1.5%. And that doesn't really do much for your retirement account. And so, I've been aligning myself with those people, and these are, many of them, almost all of them are acquaintances or business people or folks I've known for years. And I've just kind of, grown that in anticipation for when things go on sale again, and things are going to go on sale again. In my opinion, it's starting to happen quicker. I really thought it would happen last year, but the signs just weren't there. I mean, inventory was still low. Banks people were still getting financing. Interest rates were low. Property availability. I mean, it was only maybe a 2-month supply in Madison. Things were selling really fast. So the signs weren't there like it's not going to go off the cliff tomorrow. Well, fast forward to today, and we still have some of those things that are really good, but interest rates are
They're creeping.
They're creeping. I bet you on March 13th or 14th or whenever the next Fed meet, I would bank on it that's gonna jump up again.
Sure.
And they're talking, 2, 3, 4 of those this year. Now again, people that lived in the 80s and the 90s and saw it 8, 9, 10%.
Sure.
Don't think anything of. They're like 4 or 5%. Oh my gosh! I'm like, this is a gift.
Right.
And it still is. But people are getting spoiled because now 5% is like crazy high. So anyway, that's all perspective. But I look at the top right now, and I've been kind of planning to go. When do I want to start buying rentals, single family homes? And so a couple months ago, we just started taking properties that we would bring in from a deal, and instead of fix it up and sell it to a new homeowner, we've been fixing them up and keeping them for a rental portfolio. Sure. And so, yeah, we've done, 5 of them in the last probably 10, 12 weeks.
Sure. And rents are
fantastic.
Insanely high.
Insanely high, yep. And, where's the ceiling on that, too? Again, we could have a conversation for an hour on just that topic.
Right.
But it's a strategy that, people are doing, have been doing forever. But I think it's all timing. And, again, hitting the market is 2 different sides, on the upside and on the downside.
Right.
Because people believe that the money is lost and nothing happens on the downside. But actually, that's where you can really, really do well.
Right.
If you're educated and understand how to look at that.
Right.
Guys in the market will probably tell you the same thing. That's not my area. I couldn't tell anyone anything in the market. Real estate, that's where I'm just more comfortable.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nice. So what have been some of your biggest challenges throughout the last 22 years in regards to starting and operating businesses that you have?
Man, one that jumps in on probably the number 1 slot is jack of all trades, master of none.
Okay.
I've always had multiple irons in the fire. I've always believed that, especially when I was younger, that if I worked harder and did a lot of stuff, that even if a couple of them weren't working well, the rest would pick up the slack and do greater or better.
Sure.
And really, that's not the case. I have not found that. I think when you dilute yourself, and you don't focus, you're a jack of all trades and master of none. Okay. And it's that simple. And it took me a long time to figure it out because I did not believe it. I believed if I work harder than the next guy, and I continually worked harder than the next guy, that I would get there before them or farther. My mindset when I was younger was millionaire. I had this millionaire mindset. Okay. I read a lot. I have been for years and years and years. And, I always believed that I could be a millionaire. And in my 20s and 30s, to the detriment of probably a lot of things, that was the thing that I chased more than anything.
So that was the focus, is money.
It was. And it's just a terrible place to be. I mean, money's great, but life is what... There's no comparison, and it's easy to give up, life and relationships and experiences to work a little more because you might get a little bigger paycheck or another commission or another.
Just a little bit more.
Yeah, and what's too much? I mean, what's enough?
Right.
But in those days, this millionaire thing, it was what everyone talked about, and it was the groups I was around, so everything was, I'm gonna hit that millionaire. I'm gonna have $1 million net worth. And so I worked and I worked and I worked, and I was in multi-level companies and real estate, and I had these other companies and blah, blah, blah. And so the biggest lesson I take away from that today is, which I didn't realize until, that was probably 2013 is when it finally all sunk in. It was based on a book I read, but as a concept was of really focusing on one thing. And it could be one thing in business, and it could be one thing in your personal life. It doesn't really matter. Sure. But the concept's the same. And the principle was that if you put your energies into one thing and you really look at it, generally, if you do that one thing really, really well and really focus on it daily, not for necessarily 8 hours, but focus on it that it's quality that you're focusing on, generally, a lot of the other things that are tied to it or close to it will become better without me having to go, I got to work 10 hours on that and 10 hours on that and 10 hours on that. And pretty soon I'm at 80 hours and I'm too many. And it was the hardest thing for me to do because for years I do goal sheets and I can go back to 1997 and see every year that I've had short-term goals, long-term goals, all that stuff. And I never hit my goals because I was always shooting for $1 million. And that forced me to work harder because I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I mean, I'm working hard. I'm a smart guy. And it just I never got there. And like I said, in about 2013, and this is after very highs and very lows, and I'll talk about the lows because that's the next part of this.
Sure.
I'm going through all that, looking at that, and I got challenged to look at all the things I was doing, all the irons I had in the fire, and come up with one that if I did that one and I focused on it day after day, week after week, month after month, that it would not only make that one thing better, but many of the other things around me better. I had a hard time believing it. The concept did not sound right. Like if I spend less time on it, how's that? This is going to fall away. It's just going to die.
The math doesn't work
exactly. Here. And so I locked myself in a hotel room for 24 hours. And it's something that I now do. I've been doing for years, and I teach other people to do it. Okay. It's called my 24-hour retreat. Okay. And I basically, I took all this stuff in my head, and I just did a complete data dump on these 24 by 36 sheets of Post-it note. Okay. And I went in a hotel room, turned my phone off, turned my email off. Nobody was there. It was just me. And I took these Post-it notes, and I put them up all over the wall. I think I had like 15 of them, 24 by 36. And I spent probably the first 8 hours with no filters at all. And I just dumped all the crazy ideas I had and things I had on paper that I'd never started or things that I was in the middle of. And I just wrote them all down, why I was doing it or things that I thought I would get from it or what else I had to do to make it be successful. Sure. And I just did that. And I just wrote page after page after page, bullet note after bullet note. Sure. And that was about first 8 hours. Let's just say first half of my 24-hour retreat. Sure. The next part of that was then taking everything and looking at it and finding the one thing that if I focused on that one thing, that business idea, that whatever, that it would make other things around it more successful and the business more successful, which again, I was struggling with it, but I was at my wit's end because I kept coming up with the same results year after year. I was doing good, but I wasn't where I felt I should be. Sure. And so I was listening to, again, another mentor, find my one thing. So I had all these things on this paper, and by the 23rd or 24th hour, and again, I slept an 8. I didn't just sit up for 24 hours, but by the time I was about done and wrapping up, and I still have all these pages today, I was able to get down to one thing, and that was my Madison Real Estate Investor Association. Okay. And all the other things I was working on, MLMs, and I was wholesaling deals, and I was working private money, and I did joint venture deals, and I was doing rentals, and I was looking at flips and wholesaling, all these real estate and business related things. Sure. That I was spending time on everything. I made the commitment that if I did the RIA and I built it and I got members in and I got more investors around, that all these other things would start to become better. And over the next 18 months, it was crazy how it completely changed everything. And you know what? Could people say, well, yeah, the market got better and stuff? Yeah, I've been through 3 market cycles, and I've been doing this since the 80s. And I've never had anything that really dramatically changed everything I was doing. And it was because I really focused on the one. It doesn't mean I threw everything out the window, but they started getting better. And one example is, one of my things was I would spend time every week going out to meet more people to try to borrow private money to lend on my projects. Sure. And those were, people, business acquaintances, folks in my spheres of influence. And I just kind of kept going in the same cycle, and I really wasn't getting anywhere. But what happened was when I started focusing on the RIA and I started working to make it the best, Association of Madison, getting more members, teaching better content week after week after week, what happened was more people started joining and more people started showing up. And all of a sudden, the people that I was trying so hard to find for private money lenders, they were showing up at my door because I worked on something else. Sure. And I'm like... So word spread, referrals came in. And... Yeah, now I'm meeting these people, and I didn't go spend any time looking for them. Sure. They came for a different reason, but because I now created a relationship. Right. And the same about finding deals. I mean, I'm marketing, trying to find the next deal. And now I've got more people coming into this association that I'm focusing as my one thing. Sure. And all of a sudden, I'm getting deals from people that are coming in that I'd never even knew before. And all of a sudden now we have a joint venture deal, and
Sure.
I didn't do anything more. And so all of a sudden that was better.
Sure.
And I could say that about 6 or 8 different things. And so it really changed my perspective. And so now my life is about going kind of a season to season or stepping stone to stepping stone of focusing in an area to make that area the best, and knowing that if I do it right, these other areas will grow. At least that's been the theory. And I've been doing it for 5.5 years now.
All right.
I'm on my 3rd big one thing. I've been doing them about 18-month, 2-year sessions.
Okay.
And they've worked fantastically. And I'm in the middle of another one right now that it's kind of ups and downs, but I'm getting really close to it. And
Sure.
so yeah, that's been huge for me from a business standpoint. And obviously, the business and the life side is really where I think a lot of it shifted. I didn't really talk about this yet, but one of the greatest lessons I ever learned was when I got to that millionaire. I finally hit that status
Nice.
in 2004, and that
Sure.
was great. And by 2007, I lost everything.
Oh.
Bankrupt, foreclosures, lost all my everything down to zero. I was way less than zero. I was in a deep, deep hole. It took me years to get out of.
Sure.
And so
Like
I had
the market tanked and.
Yep. And by 2004, I finally had all the stuff and the condos and cabins and boats and 4-wheeler, all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just stuff,
Just toys and whatever.
And I thought that's what I wanted, and I thought that'd be great. My kids, my wife, and
Sure.
it
You
was
made it.
Exactly. Put my stake in the ground. I'm here. And at the end of the day, it was great. And looking back, it was never what it was about. If I would ask my kids, hey, would it be cool to go out in the boat, and should I get it, or would you like to just hang out and we can go fishing? They would probably say fishing every time, and I can spend $10-15 to go fishing, and I got to,
Sure.
spend. Well, I spent, $80,000 to buy a boat.
Sure.
And, and then probably spent more time cleaning it and get it ready
Right.
for the next time
Yep.
while he's at home probably wanting me to go fishing or play basketball or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the things in life that I found really make a difference are, business is important, but to a point. Get it to where it's comfortable, and then the life and the experiences and my kids and wife and all my other relationships
Sure.
became so painfully clear that I was lacking in that.
Right.
And it took me in 2007 to go belly up. And I got smoked.
All right.
I lost everything. And, I teach from the platform all the time about it. I have for years, because it's a great learning lesson, because it made me a better business owner. It made me a better husband, father, friend,
Sure.
dad, whatever, name them all. Because I learned, I think I needed to get the 2x4 in the head.
Sure.
And, it's weird because when it happened, I always say it was the best thing that ever happened to me, and it was the worst thing that happened
Sure.
to me in the same event.
Sure.
Because of what came out of it afterwards. It just transformed who I was.
So was this all of a sudden one day you get a phone call kind of thing, or this was over the course of a few months? So you're
This
just
was-
like, wait, what happened?
Well, I was on a huge development project back in 03, 4, 5, 6, 7, actually for 4 or 5 years. And it was going just gangbusters, 03, 04, 05, just making hand over fist.
Sure.
Real estate market's great. And then I can look back today in December 2005.
Okay.
I had dozens and dozens and dozens of contracts for these condos being
Sure.
built and sold, multi-millions of dollars.
Contracts for builders and
Builders
construction.
and owners, people that were buying them.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And they were under construction and all these contracts. And then as I look back now, I didn't know it then, but December 2005, that valve, that faucet shut off.
Okay.
And the rest of 06 was painful
Okay.
because everything just went flatline.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, everything that I did to leverage my world
Mm-hmm.
and live like a fat cat
Mm-hmm.
between 2003 and 2006, now in 2007, was basically just flatline. Nothing was coming in. There were no sales.
Okay.
Market was dead. Contracts were falling by the wayside.
So people lost their funding?
People lost funding. People started foreclosing. People
Okay.
were going bankrupt. The whole development went bankrupt.
So the contracts were essentially worthless.
Well, yeah, worthless.
Okay.
And it was just a mess. And so when you say what was the day that did I get a phone call? Nope. It was funny because when everything kind of started settling, and all these notes are coming due and obligations are coming due.
Sure.
It was insane.
All right.
It was as much in a month that people make in a year that I had obligations. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, and it was like, okay, I have not even close to 1 month to pay.
Sure.
So literally within a 2-3 month period, I went from realization that this is now, I'm done.
Sure.
And then filing, bankruptcy, Chapter 7, and it wiped out everything. We had probably 8, 10, $12 million in condos and real estate, and those were all foreclosed. So it was a big nightmare. It was a big mess. It happened to a lot of good people, and unfortunately, that time in the market, a lot of casualties of war. I mean, I knew so many people who got hurt so bad.
Sure. Financially.
Financially, yeah. Well, and unfortunately, what happens when it happens financially?
Sure.
Divorce.
Yep.
And so many families were wrecked. And I'm fortunate to say that, ours held through that. My wife, God love her, just was a rock.
Sure.
And we went through tough times. And when I tell this story that, we're talking about today, and I tell it, from a platform, it's people either go, yep, I lived through that, and holy mackerel, we got to have coffee sometime.
Sure.
Or, man, I guess things aren't that bad right now.
Right.
And there is hope on the other side. There is light. So that's the biggest message I try to teach and preach to people is, you know what, you can go down and you can get whacked, and obviously planning, and we try to plan for that. Who plans to fail? Sure. Nobody.
Not intentionally.
Not intentionally, no. But it happens, and sometimes we get, I called it squirreled. I mean, you're just off to the side here, and pretty soon you're a year or two down the road, and you're like, where am I going? Sure. And that's another reason for coaches and mentors, because they help to keep you on track.
Just keep you on task.
So I don't get down the line 1 or 2 years and then have to tool true north.
I got a big sign in my office that says, beware the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I need that one.
Common.
Yeah. So it's, a lot of lessons learned there. Spent a lot of time building that back up, getting a lot smarter.
So tell me the story there. You didn't just say, okay, I'm done with real estate.
No.
I got to find something else, right?
Yeah. So I went back in and got into the same rabbit hole and the same habit that I was in before. I started getting back into multi-level marketing. I had no money. I couldn't pay anything.
So multi-level marketing, like what kind of things were you selling?
I was doing Amway. I did that, and then turned into Quorum. I've done Life Leadership.
Quorum, sure.
I've done Quorum was a security system. I did what was the not Neutralite, another multi-supplement something. And so there's I've probably done 6 or 7 different ones over that period of time, some of them for years and years. Sure. But it was always something that, that model always intrigued me, because I tell you, for people that really want to learn and be held accountable and get out of their comfort zone, multi-level marketing, network marketing, direct sales is, man, I'm telling you, they'll put you in front of the fire. And if you've got fire in your belly, it's something to consider for people who just aren't feeling like they're going to get where they need to get in their job. Sure. Because usually they have good educational systems and accountability and mentoring, which for a lot of people, they need that. And so let's see. I got squirreled myself there for a second.
So I'm just
bring me back.
You come back, you file for bankruptcy, right? Things go away.
Yeah.
At what point are you like, okay, let's try this again?
Oh yeah, and so I got back in the irons in the fire, and I had to go to work for a company that was in real estate, because I couldn't buy anything. Market was, it was just dead. Everything was falling apart. Sure. And so it was nothing to really buy. And I went to work for a multi-family apartment syndication company in Chicago. Okay. And so for 9 months, I literally drove to Chicago every week away from my family. Oh, wow. Because, it was like, I have to do that to get back on the horse. Yep. And again, lesson learned. I gave up some valuable things and time that I can never get back. Huge. To try to go make, money. And could I have done that here? Yeah, I probably could have. I'm positive I could have. And I didn't. I was still a little blinded, but I got back into the habit of working really hard. Sure. Because, wow, now I don't have anything. I've got to get back to where I was. And I should be able to do it faster. That's
Right.
what the books always say, you know. The people that always failed before or went bankrupt, you know,
Sure.
they came back the next time stronger and
Fail
quicker.
faster.
Yep. And so I got back into that habit again, and what happened was, you know, I had 2 irons in the fire, then 3, and then 4, then 5, and all of a sudden now I'm jack of all trades, master of none again.
Sure.
And that happened for a few years after. But real estate was part of that. I was trying to get myself back in, but the market was so flat. It was just tough to buy stuff. And then I started getting educated on short sales and foreclosures, going to auctions, buying, you know, from banks and stuff like that. And we did that for, you know, 2-3 years. It was a tough racket. You know, it's very emotionally difficult because you're trying to help people in a very, very tough situation with their largest asset that anyone has. The only good part about it is I think I probably ended up hopefully helping people more by talking to them than ever being able to buy anything because I couldn't, because the bank, you know, I just could never get a price that made sense business-wise. But because I had just gone through it, I was able to relate to so many people I talked to.
So you knew what they were going through.
Oh my gosh, I totally did, and I could feel for all of them because I knew. The only thing I couldn't feel is that when people said, "Yep, we got divorced because this bad thing happened in our life."
Sure.
And that I could never say, "Yep, I've been in your shoes."
Sure.
But everything else, pretty much. And so that kind of led me back into real estate, and I was trying to help people with short sales and that type of thing, deal with their houses, and. But then the market started getting a little better, and that's when, you know, we started, you know, buying houses and going through and fixing them up. And
when you say we, you mean, did you have business partners?
I was doing it on my own for years, and I recently brought on a partner who was one of my former students who has done, I don't know, dozens of deals. He's great at marketing. I'm really good at so many of the other aspects of the business.
Sure.
And so we kind of teamed up about actually 3 years ago this month.
Okay.
And so we've been, that's been going off the chart. So we've been doing great on that. That's Madison House Buyers.
Sure.
And that's been going really well. And so within that same business, as the market's been going up and we've been waiting for this top, as I talked about earlier.
Right.
You know, there's just so many signs in the last 2 months that are starting to make me think like, all right, I gotta start to bolt down. And because I see 2018 as the road's going to get a little rocky and things are going to start to shift a little bit in some different areas. And so we've been continually just kind of working our way towards that, getting ready, as I talked about earlier, as you asked me, with some of the financial aspects and just kind of making the house solid so that I don't have to, you know, worry about when things are on sale, how am I going to buy them? I'm not in a position to.
Sure.
And so I don't know when that'll hit. Again, crystal ball. But I think 2018, there's a lot of signs indicating it's coming.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right. So what is the next big thing for you then? Will you be buying property, or will you be sticking with what you have, or will you be selling it right away now while prices are high? Or
we've been doing a lot of that. We've been selling it when the prices are going up, and we've been doing really well the last 2-3 years. But you know, when you sell and you buy something and you do that in a 2, 3, 4, 5 months period, you know, Uncle Sugar wants his cut.
Sure.
And those taxes were getting brutal.
Oh, sure.
And so we started looking more at a little cherry picking. So we're still marketing a ton. We're still buying, you know, single family homes that with whatever situation a homeowner has to be able to help them solve their problem.
Sure.
To then take it on us and do whatever we need to do. And so we're cherry picking the houses that we feel would be a good rental.
Okay.
Because now we've got a longer term hold. We can start bringing that rental in. We're not paying taxes today. And so that's kind of the model is, you know, we're looking, if you would ask me this question 20 years ago, I would have said, Jim, where am I going with rentals? Man, I want to have 1,000 apartments. And I said that for years, and I believed I'm going to have 1,000. I'm going to be the biggest, baddest, best, and I'm going to be rolling in it, and I'm going to have all these properties. No problem, I can do it. And I look at that now and go, man, that is a huge job. That's just a huge JOB. Manage. You bet. And people go, well, yeah, that's why you have property managers. Trust me, you have 1,000 properties, and anyone listening who's got 1,000 on this, they know exactly what I'm saying. And it doesn't even have to be 1,000. You have to manage the managers. I mean, the managers only do so much. They don't have a vested interest. So there's still work. There's still things to do. And I don't want any more jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have my income meet my needs
Sure.
for my family
Right.
and bring in rentals. We figure that if we have 20 houses,
Mm-hmm.
my partner and I, and that we can pay them off 100%, have them free and clear within 5 to 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have 10 houses that are free and clear,
Mm-hmm.
and my partner has 10, I don't need to worry. I mean,
That's awesome.
I don't need 70 or 90 that are leveraged 80%.
Sure.
I'd rather have 10 that are free and clear because
Right.
nobody can ever take them from me unless I don't pay taxes.
Then you don't care about the market unless there's a
I
rental
don't.
issue.
I mean, the market's going to happen regardless. But
Sure.
if I don't have a mortgage,
Right.
I'm not beholden to a bank.
Mm-hmm.
And if I need to get creative with rents, I can do it because I don't have to pay a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's cash flow outside of expenses, of course.
Sure.
But our model is every time we buy a house, we fix it up so that day one, I know that I've got 5 to 7 years before anything big is going to happen.
Sure.
And that's a pretty good spot to be in.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very intentional. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
everyone we look at, we think about that with that mindset. So where to go from here is to continue to do that. The other aspect, I talked a little bit about the life side, which really shifted and altered in my business
Mm-hmm.
thinking and what I do, why I think about 20 free and clear rentals as opposed to 1,000 apartments.
Sure.
It's because if I go to the 1,000 apartments, life is gone.
Mm.
My kids, I already have one in college, the second one's a senior in high school, and my third one's, he's 13.
Sure.
And when they're gone, I mean, any
Right.
parent
They
will
got
have the
their
same
own lives,
you
right? The cats in
betcha.
the cradle kind of thing.
And it's already happening. I mean, so every day is important.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need to spend 5 years to go buy 1,000 apartments. That's just
Right.
going to give me a huge job for the next 20 years.
Sure.
My kids will be gone then. So I can do what I do, and I don't have to work 40 hours, 60, 50, any of that anymore. I mean, I have I think a pretty good schedule.
Sure.
And I can do stuff with my kids when I need to. I can
Mm-hmm.
start my day when I want to and end it when I want to.
Right.
And I'm intentional about the few things to get us where we need to go to be ready for the next swing,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to methodically buy some rentals here and there and
Sure.
pay them down quick from our other acquisition flips.
Sure.
And I'll kind of spin those into that model. And so that's kind of it on the business side, really. And the other side is I do a lot of the life vision, working with students and coaching
Mm-hmm.
locally and all over the country. And I really enjoy that because that made such a difference in my world. When I was taught to create a life, vision plan for me,
Mm-hmm.
it allowed me to do something that has always been tough, and that's saying no. And what I mean by that is my
That's
vision
awesome.
plan now has given me permission, and I use it all the time. And people don't have any clue what I'm talking about.
That is so funny you say that. I'm giving a presentation in a couple weeks. The same presentation I gave a year ago at this convention that they have up in the Dells. And last year I did it. It was managing minutia in business.
Okay.
So just talking about time management stuff.
Yep.
One of the things that I had that's probably, I don't know, a tenth of the talk, something like that, was the power of no.
Huh.
And so the question, somebody can ask you a question, like, hey, would you mind being on the board for whatever? And it took them 10 seconds to ask, a simple email, whatever. But as soon as you say yes to that, you have to understand how big of a yes is that, right? It's not a tit for tat kind of thing, right?
Yep.
They asked this question, it took them a moment. You said yes, and it's going to consume the better part of 10 years of your life, right?
Yep.
So I told them that you got to be okay saying no, because in order for you to say yes, you have to say no to some other stuff. You cannot say yes to everything. And so it was mostly positive comments. Hey, I love James. Yay, rah. But the people, I had some fallout from people saying, like, I can't say no. And I just wanted, like, I don't know who you were that said that, but I
Right.
wanted to be like, seriously, let's go for coffee, because you got to be able to say no. You have to.
It's so liberating. It's unbelievable what the power. My whole life, as I said, I've had all these irons in the fire. I've been, I said no to nothing.
Yeah.
Everything was, I'll look
Stack
at
it
it,
up.
I'll think about it. It sounds good.
Yep.
I mean, I still think back to times if I would have said no to one or two events in my life,
Sure.
I would have saved literally 12 to 18 months of stuff where I was flying to San Diego to go look at setting up a coffee franchise in Wisconsin, but I had to go look at the original store, and
Sure.
I'm meeting with a guy, and man, I could have said no. Today, I would say no in 5 seconds.
Sure.
And I look at my vision plan. My vision plan is my vision for my life first, and then my business fits around it.
Right, because the business should be for you.
Yes.
Not you for the business, right?
And if without that vision, I was never able to say no because I didn't know.
Sure.
I never spent the time to figure it
cool.
out. Oh, yeah, franchise, man, they must make hand over fist. I love coffee.
Right.
Oh, great. There's a good reason to get into business. But now, ever since I created a vision plan for my life and for business, I get people. I mean, I've got a huge association. I get people bringing me deals all the time of crazy stuff. And I literally, on a phone call, I don't even have to hang up and think about it and go, let me get back to you next week. I'll think about it. It's like, it just doesn't fit my vision. And I get so many people going, you're what?
Right.
It doesn't matter. It just doesn't fit. So I appreciate you thinking of me.
That's so fantastic that you say that.
Yep.
Let me tell you a little story here.
Go.
So I wrote my book, right?
Yep.
And the big thing that sells books is reviews, right? So I'm trying to get as many people as I can to get reviews, right? In a perfect world, they would read the book and then review the book. And it's come to the point where you just give them the book, right? You spread it out, say, hey, would you mind leaving a review? And they say yes to that, no problem.
Yep.
Right? Hey, you want a book? Leave a review? Sure, no problem. And then you follow up with them every month. Hey, did you get a chance to read the book? Did you get a chance to read the book? No, man, I've been busy. No, I've been busy. Like, it would have been so much easier for you to just tell me no. And there's a moment where you're like, that kind of would have hurt, but realistically, now we're doing the song and dance. Yeah. And the end result is a no. You're just either too shy to say no, or you're not even aware that you can't or that you won't.
Right.
Like, how much do these people have on their to-do list that it's on the list, but it'll just never get done because they don't have maybe, I don't know if it's the education, the experience, the awareness, the understanding that you can't, comes down to the one thing book, right?
Yeah.
That you just can't have everything on there. You can't. So it'd be awesome if you could. You can't. Whittle it down. So when James comes and says, hey, will you read this book for a review? Say yes, great, but then do it. Yeah. But if you tell me no, totally cool with that.
Right.
You just saved me 500 emails sending you like, hey, will you please send this review, right?
Yeah, that's so true. And it's such a little thing.
Yeah.
But it's such a huge thing when you really grasp the power of it. And you can't until you experience it once and feel what it feels like.
Yeah.
I mean, then it's like I'm addicted to saying no.
Yes.
And not for a bad reason, but for a really good reason.
Because
life.
Then the stuff that you say yes to, you can actually do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's power in that.
It's huge. Yep.
That's the whole freedom that you're after.
Yep. Nope. And I try to teach it every opportunity I get when, I teach classes and stuff like that. It's easy to do, but it's also hard to do.
So now, going into that, do you have a secret for making decisions now?
You know what?
Or
my vision plan. It's my vision plan.
Okay.
It's a one page. That's where one of my coaches probably got me really plugged into. He was the first person ever, and I've been to all the Zig Ziglars and the Hopkins, all those guys over the years. I've been to them a million times, and everything was always about building a plan, building the goal, building your thing to do. And I did that for years and years, and I did it probably exceptionally well. At least I thought I did.
Sure.
But I always built them a business first. There was always a goal or a plan around businesses, around all my companies, around what I was going to do to work.
Okay.
I never
Not
had
the life.
No, never. I don't ever remember sitting at one of those gurus or a speaker going, make sure to put all your life stuff in there. At least back 80s, 90s, 2000s.
Sure.
It just wasn't. I don't remember that ever.
Interesting. Okay.
And then in 2012, I met Steve and Sean, who got me really plugged in with the concept of a vision plan for my life. And it was about creating that first and spending all the time you need to define what it is in your life. What are the important things? Family, friends, spiritual, fitness, blah, 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 all that stuff. And like business was like the last one.
Right.
They're like, create this whole vision plan. We spent days on it. And then it was like, all right, now how much time do you have left in your week to fit business in? Well, I only got 20 hours a week. Okay, great. How are you going to survive in your world for 20 hours to be able to do that? And now it's working backwards going, all right, so the most important things for me are these: family, friends, relationships, whatever. And then, I only can work from noon to 3. And some people may be listening to this going, yeah, right, that's impossible. I can't do that. No, you can't do it because you don't think you can.
Right.
Because you've been in that world. We've all been in that world.
That's what you've been taught. Right?
Exactly. Everyone around us does it.
Yeah.
So how can I do something different?
Yep. It's interesting, the mentality that we have. I was just talking with another person I was interviewing. I can't remember a show or two ago. Anyway, so we were talking about even the Midwest work ethic.
Yeah.
That you almost have to work 90 hours a week to feel fulfilled. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
No, if you're going to work 90 hours a week, just get a normal job and work 40. Like, there's no reason to be working that hard or that long, I should say, if you got your own business. Like, what's the point then?
But who did we learn from? Our parents.
Right.
Were they hardworking?
Incredibly.
Heck yeah. And their parents before them were even harder working.
Very so. Yeah. Very
and
much
so it just kind of came up. And
Yep.
now I think our kids, my kids anyway, I look at that generation and they're getting lazy.
Fair,
because
totally
video
fair.
games and electronics and that's a whole generational thing.
Correct. Yep.
And it's a 5-hour conversation. But that is, you look at that work ethic, and I definitely got mine from my mom and dad for sure. And you know, I see that this generation now, I don't know, it concerns me. You know, I think kids are that gap in general of the work ethic and the, you know, feeling like I'm owed.
Right.
You know, whatever I'm owed. I should have an iPhone 8. Really? Okay.
Really?
You know, so yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
No, I completely understand where you're coming from there. Completely understand. I got a 4-year-old son, and I'm beginning to have to navigate that. Nowhere near a teenager.
I hear you.
That's that's a thing. That's definitely a thing. So, Chris, we got to wrap this up here in a little bit here. Why don't you tell us where your website is?
So Madison House Buyers, www.madisonhousebuyers.com.
Okay. And you have a phone number?
Yeah, actually 608-852-4403.
Okay, awesome. And the classes that you teach at Madison House Buyers are essentially helping with real estate and
yeah, it's actually the
investing.
Madison. It's the Real Estate Investor Association. So my offices are in the same building. I teach in the same venues, but
Gotcha.
yeah, we do that a couple times a month. And yeah, it's just if people, you know, it's all about education, and that's my main focus there is trying to have a place where people can come and get educated.
Okay.
And you know, it's available to anyone. Come and check it out, and you know, again, they can find me on the website. And, and you know, if they want to know more, they can.
Awesome. So if you had one piece of advice for someone that was either considering starting a business or already had a business and they were floundering a little bit, what would it be?
Find someone who's done what you want to do and actually has fruit on the tree.
All right.
You know, I think of how many people get advice from people that maybe they're trying to be helpful and well-wishing and good, you know, and even parents and friends and siblings and folks, you know what? If they don't have a real estate investment business or they don't have an engineering company or whatever, they're not the people to talk to. They don't know what it takes. I've started enough companies where I believed hard work and sweat and my determination, I'll succeed. Wrong. That's the wrong way to go about it. Find somebody who is willing to, you know, take them out to coffee or lunch and pick their brain and then pick their brain again and pick their brain again. People that are successful in doing those things, they want to help people who I love when people want to have those conversations. So
that's awesome.
I would say, you know, find those people and find someone that has a reputation and they have fruit on the tree and they've done what you want to do.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate you coming out, man.
Anytime. This is fun.
It is.
I love talking about this stuff.
We could go on for another 3 hours.
We
could.
Kick
us out here.
Part 2.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures. Thank you for listening. The business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kademan, business coach at Draw In Customers Business Coaching and author of The Bold Business Book. We'd like to thank you, our listeners, and our guest, Chris Hake of Madison House Buyers. Let me figure out where I'm at here. Find us airing on 103.5 Wednesdays at 6 p.m. and Sundays at 2 p.m., as well as at sunprairiemediacenter.com. We can also be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link on Draw In customers.com. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week. Stay awesome and enjoy the process.